My dear audience, this is a unique panel discussion, not something that you accustomed to seeing at an economic forum. We have representatives from unrelated industries. We have representatives of the business community, science, and arts. And there is this multidisciplinary thing which is now trendy. And I would like to ask Igor Nikonov, and I would like to begin on a very high note, because we know that leaders have a passion, have passions. Bill Gates was passionate about technology. Mahatma Gandhi was passionate about human rights. Dr. Martin Luther King had a passion about equality. What is your passion? How would you formulate your personal mission if you have one? Well, I have many passions, and they've evolved over the years. But professionally, it's a commitment to promoting this country's development, to spur up competitors into raising their own bar, to have the same service available yesterday only to business class passengers, available to all economy passengers today. And the mission is to create symbols for this city, for Kiev. If the nation's capital unless it creates symbols, landmarks, or centers of gravity as a place where money can be made, it's actually leading by example. You've got to have somebody leading the pack. But if you're looking at our developers and the cool projects being developed, they themselves will become excited about this. But if we have like those hollow spaces in the city standing like this for years, it's very hard to... I forgot to introduce Igor Nikonov, the founder of Khan Development, the creator of the largest education network, A+, an economic expert, the winner of several major prizes in development, the father of 10 children. Igor, I'm giving you Igor Nikonov. And it's the same question, and I would like to pose this question to all speakers. And before I hand over to Ivaris Abramovičius, but I would like to say that I like the mission of Oprah Winfrey. She says, my mission is to be a teacher, to teach people to think that there's more to them than they think even themselves. What is your mission, Ivaris? Now, I think that our speakers are such great leaders, they may not need an introduction, but I would like to give some background about Ivaris Abramovičius. He currently is the chair of the board of UCGA, and he's also a member of the FinTech Lithuanian startup. And formerly, Ivaris was the CEO of Uka Abaronprom. Thank you. And in terms of mission, it's quite a coincidence maybe that I lived the first 17 years in my home country, and then the next 17 years I spent living in the Nordic countries, Sweden, Estonia, and now I've been living for the past 13 years here in Ukraine. I have 3 children, not 10, but my 3 kids were born here. But I'm still young, you know. That's not the end of it. So I will be actually sharing both and combining both perspectives. And many of us mentally, I matured during my time spent in Estonia and Sweden. So it is my mission to advertise the best things out of Ukraine to Western audiences and maybe dispel some of the myths that may be circulating about Ukraine. And the other side of my mission is to westernize, to Scandinavianize, to Germanize Ukraine. There was a panel yesterday where people voted which way to move westwards or eastwards, try to drift between the two, I was frustrated by the outcome. It's inconceivable how, in the modern world, after so many perils that Ukraine survived, there is even any scope for thinking that we could potentially move eastwards. Look at Belarus, look at Russia. It is obvious, isn't it? We want to live in a country where you can breathe freely, and it's the Nordic countries that are leaders across the board in both economic and social development measures. So this is my modest contribution of bringing a piece of the Nordic countries here. So this is a new world to Scandinavianize Ukraine. Alexey Batvinov is a famous musician, pianist, who's played Bach's Goblet Variations more than 300 times, and he is now in the Guinness Book of Records. He's the founder of the Odessa-based Festival of Classical Music, Odessa Classics. What are your passions? Probably music. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to be invited to speak at an economic forum, somebody representing the world of the arts and culture. It's a good sign. It's a great sign. Yes, my biggest mission is music, and I'm very, very happy person. I've done what I love since I was a little kid. But my mission has evolved. My first 40 years, it was a mission of innate improvement. I wanted to make myself a better pianist. Now, in the past 10 years, my mission's evolved, and it's how to make classical music trendy in this country, how to encourage businesses to pay more attention to this sector, and the attitudes are changing positively. I'm very happy about this, and there's a lot of potential that still lies unharnessed. And it's supposed to, not just to encourage people to love music, but to make this country a more comfortable place to live in. Thank you, Alexey. When we are done with this round, sharing our missions and passions, if anyone wishes to weigh in on this, how their missions evolved over the years. Now, I'm happy to introduce Anton Navrinsky, an entrepreneur, a co-founder and CEO of Leaky24.com, an online pharmacy startup, best startup 2020, raising over $6 million in investment. So my mission, how it's evolved. Now, in terms of, let's look at what's going on in the world. And at the World Economic Forum at Davos, what we put from various global leaders and leaders of major corporations, is that what is now clearly imminent is a revolution of education with soft skills, communications, and emotional intelligence increasing their value, and an environmentally sustainable mindset. And what is at the forefront now is not a product, is not a process, it is the human. When we created Leaky24, we had the human and human needs at the core of our business concept, is to enable people to obtain access to medical drugs in an easier, more convenient and faster way. And our purpose was to create a service that people have endorsed and are recommending to others. But there are people who are clients, outside clients, there are people inside, within the organization. Maybe some 2 years ago, when I was asked what we were doing, and then I said something. We are creating a 5-dimensional marketplace. A marketplace is a platform that brings together, like Booking.com, brings together tourists with hotels. We have 5 dimensions: clients, pharmacies, medical doctors, and then we have 6 dimensions. The 6th dimension is one of the most important ones. It is a team. It is our talents who are doing this, who are making this happen. And those people who are making this happen, and this is when our understanding of this whole thing has begun to evolve. I'm passionate about creating teams like the one we've created and enable people to be part of this exciting change of helping millions meet their needs. That is what I found most inspirational. And our mission is as follows. This is a beautiful path to good change in a company of good people. So it is a path that needs a sense of direction, and it's a beautiful path, and in a company of good people. Thank you, Anton. It gives me pleasure to introduce one more guest, Yury Gogotsi. Yury came from the US to take part. He says, I'm a chemist at heart and a physicist by trade. He heads up a Nanomaterials Institute in the US, and he has a Hirsch quotability index 160. This is the level of Nobel laureates. So, Yury, we are really dying to find out what your mission is, what your passions are. Thank you, Jana. I'll begin by speaking about my passions. I develop new materials, nanomaterials. My passion is to create, to invent new materials. There's nothing compares to this. When you're seeing for the first time something that's never seen before. Maybe when you close a big deal in business, you feel the same sense of euphoria. But this world is developing. So it's how humanity's evolved. From the Bronze Age and Iron Age, now we'll live in a Silicon Age, in an age of technology. And we are now transforming the world. Now we can create composite materials made up of very small nanoparticles and create new materials. This is a passion. But we don't want to only stay within the bounds of academic research and write more publications. We are trying to address genuine needs of humanity with these materials. And we are also designing new methods of power generation and storage, super condensers and accumulators. We're creating membranes for water purification and desalination. We're creating nanoparticles that can kill cancer cells. This morning I had a meeting with the Ukrainian leading researcher in this particular domain. So we are looking for applications in technology. Now, moving on to my mission. So it's actually, I could repeat the same words that Jana quoted from Oprah Winfrey. As a university professor, I believe that my mission is to teach my students to create a new generation of scientists. And I'm more proud of their successes than mine. When 10 years ago, my student, who was somebody who was my student, he's created a company and its market cap is $3 billion. I'm very proud. When my student awarded tenures at Princeton, best universities, China, Japan, this is what makes me proud. And I see my mission fulfilled in this. I can only accomplish so much as a scientist, but as the president of my institute and somebody working together with hundreds of individuals and organizations all over the world, but for Antarctica, is to expand the bounds of knowledge and to teach other people uh, to pursue my mission when I'm no longer able to do it myself. Kudos to you, Yury. It's applause. This is the best fulfillment of your mission when your students, as the Chinese say, surpass their master, their teacher. Our discussion panel is a leader's secret weapon in the 21st century. We only have 1 hour and 5 great minds from different walks of life and different industries. Without further ado, we are going to rush into it. My question, it's a question to all speakers. What is your version? What do you think is a leader's secret weapon in the 21st century? Who wants to be the first to speak? No, speed matters. Now, I could give you a short answer, but I will then slightly expand on it. There are 3 important things that we have. It's time, and I spoke about speed, energy, and emotions. If we speak about leadership, we can look at leadership within an organization and well, within the company. So within the company, we have limited time to create a great product to meet the client's needs. And to do that, we need to build a strong team, to have a strong leader who is going to channel this energy, these emotions in creating the kind of product that will meet a genuine need. So the big question is where to draw this energy, where to draw those emotions, how to build on them. My personal experience, like what has been helpful is sports, athletic activities, good. This is something that helps you decompress and switch to something else, which enables you to channel your energy to very purposefully. And it's something that we've been analyzing that over the past several years, the best achievements have been attained during some competitions. And what sports do you do? Triathlon is what I do, but it's not that relevant. It's important to practice athletics, to experience physical strain that keeps you mobilized. Well, it's within the company. Everything is changing. The best results can be achieved through cooperation, not in competition as much. And I could use the example of our company, leaky24.com, when we're working with chemists and we're helping them increase sales and get better terms from the vendors. And this is a classical win-win. Today's world is so much about win-win solutions. As a result, you don't have to compete with an offline retailer. You've got to learn to collaborate for the best outcome for both of you. And just to summarize, this kind of conscious leadership is that to try and find the right balance. And you've got to learn to feel really happy about what's going on right now in front of your eyes, but to enjoy doing it while you're doing it. And then everyone, it's contagious. It's going to be felt by everyone around you. Anton's notion is the super weapon is sports. From my experience, I've interviewed Joshua Bell, the violin player. Many of you might have attended his concert. He's broken down all stereotypes about violin players. He said that his favorite sport was basketball. And before playing his violin, he always goes to a basketball court and throwing the ball. And this is what helps him concentrate. Now, the same question to you, Ivaris. Now, I love basketball too, and I was quite good at it at some point. But I think that if there is any secret weapon at all, it's my I love succeeding together with my team, and I have been lucky to have built strong teams, both private companies and government institutions. So a good manager is a great moderator who hires people, as Steve Jobs put it, not to have him tell him what to do, but to have them tell him what to do. So it's the modern leader must focus on his or her team, on the individual team member, and then figure out what it is they want. Because each person is a personality. It's not any kind of herd or anything. It's every person is unique, and you've got to learn to know what they need. So what they need is autonomy, leaders a sense of purpose, that they're parts of some kind of bigger picture, that they're like, as in Igor's case, they want Kiev to become more beautiful, and they here changing Lviv and other parts of this country. People wish to be part of something great. And number 3 is fair remuneration. Nobody wants to do it for peanuts. If you can do it, if you can empower people, if you can give them autonomy while supporting them consistently and having their back, you're doomed to succeed. Okay, don't put your mic down. Ivaris, you worked in the public sector. Were you succeeding there in terms of in achieving the triangle, and that I was privileged enough to work in the government at a very important moment when there was this enthusiasm of people moving from the private sector to the government. It was easier to hire the likes of Yury Kovalyev, Maxim Nefedov, and Alexey Goncharuk, and it wasn't such a big problem because they were themselves willing to join our ranks, and they were really very bright and talented individuals. You know a lot about them from their Facebook feeds. How to manage those people, to tell them what to do, would have been total nonsense. Then you hire a team of stars, and then you learn to work with them, and then ask them, what do we do next? And then there is this famous business guru, how to turn a good company into a great company. There is this concept of like analogy of a bus. Before departing on your journey, you first pick the right people to sit on your bus, and you kick out those you don't want along for the ride, and then you discuss where to go before the bus is even moving. Okay, thank you, Igor. So the secret weapon in my profession is to learn to anticipate market trends, to become the worst kind of user of your own services and criticize yourself and try and project what will be demanded in the future, and shouldn't focus or limit yourself to one function. You've got to sell the future. You've got to sell a certain new lifestyle, a certain attitude. The consumers should simply be allowed to enjoy using your product, and you've got to be bold enough to experiment, to create new value propositions in the market, because there's this popular stereotype: there is no demand for your product. You have to create a value proposition. Unless you have a value proposition, there is no point in conducting any research about demand. And as Ivor has actually pointed out, that people should feel that they're part of something big, that they're creating something big, that their projects are cool, and then they are bound to succeed. But if they're creating something banal, then there is no enthusiasm about those. Our secret weapon is the ability to anticipate future market development, and it's really important to learn to recognize those trends early. Sometimes you set the trend. Being a trend setter is an even more elevated level. So the secret weapon is a little elusive intuition, the kind of gut feeling that is the trend to bet on. Or if you succeed in setting a new trend, how to develop your intuition, if there are ways to train it, it is through emotional intelligence. This term is in vogue. I would also call it cultural intelligence, is how to combine your cultural conceptions with the other side of things. One doesn't work without the other. So the secret weapon, if this conference were held in Zurich or Berlin, I would continue speaking about emotional intelligence. But here, I think we have the secret weapon that this country has yet to be embraced by our leaders. Classical music. It's a very stark contrast when you speak to business elites in Europe and here. The place that classical music occupies in their personal lives of those elites in the West is so much higher, so much more important. But the situation is improving. I keep advocating for classical music. I encourage people to listen to classical music. It's not that you will grow to love it, but it will open up in you so many unexplored traits of your intelligence, and invariably lead to positive change in your life, in your business. This is a genuine Esperanto. I've played in 45 countries of the world. If one piece by Rachmaninoff, for instance, it's actually written in Christian Orthodox tradition, or Bach in a different tradition. When you're playing the same in Indonesia, in the US, in Thailand, you're getting the same reactions. Well, sometimes when you talk to people, it's hard to read their culture, but this music breaks through. It gets through to people, and it's kind of a universal planetary language. It's not to be underestimated. It should be embraced, and it's indeed will become a secret weapon. And I'm quite convinced. Thank you, Alexey, for setting the tone so high. As universal Esperanto, being classical music, as a tool to develop intuition for business people, if I correctly encapsulated it. So I very much look forward, after this great gift from Alexey, I look forward to listen to the scientists. What is the secret weapon for a leader? And what's more, Mark Alexey, this secret weapon and art is an oxymoron in a way. So it's art is something. It's not about weapons. But thank you for this pass. In science, there is no progress without intuition. And I would subscribe to each and every word of Iveris's, because I use the same weapon for many years. But you might have heard about this already. And there is one more secret weapon that's always helped me over the years. Jana was actually made a mistake. She said I derived from the US. No, I actually arrived from France. I'm on a sabbatical now. This is, that it is, sabbaticals are practiced by large universities or companies that allow people to tune out of their regular routine, just to think about the next step to take. And I think this really matters. I've changed course several times, and this opportunity of decompressing, maybe listening to classical music or anything that you like, and think about this will help you to stay out of this daily routine, or stay trapped in something that is slowly dying, some kind of activity. I've done various, I've worked with various materials. So, I've taken a sabbatical once every 6 years. We created the foundations for a supercondenser. It's like this lithium batteries on steroids. They take charge a lot faster and give it up. So it's a Skeleton Technologies was set up in Estonia. Now they have manufacturing capacity in Germany. Now they have created manufacturing facilities for that type of. My previous sabbatical, I started working on new materials, and I continued working with those materials since. This opportunity to switch to something else, maybe within your domain, or writing a book to share experience, I think this is very critical. And those opportunities of switching from one area of focus to another, and it's been very helpful in my career to achieve my level and where I am now. Thank you. I think this is also very valuable, and businesses should adopt this practice of sabbaticals. And the next question, Ivaris, to you. You spoke about your role model for Ukraine is the Nordic countries, Scandinavian countries. So, what is the pace of integration of Ukraine into progressive global community or environment, and how can politicians help catalyze or accelerate this pace? Well, it's actually very evident. So it's this pace of integration is not fast enough. I would want to see a faster pace. Some of the countries lying close to Ukraine, they are moving at a faster pace. And it's actually Ukraine is lagging behind. As Yury spoke of skeleton, my university friends, they're very. Its skeleton is going to become a new unicorn, and it's an example. It's a small country, Estonia. They should have stopped growing years ago. Now they are now getting this multiplication effect, and they're helping one another. And they pulled one investment and then grow laterally into other areas of investment, and you showing people how to manage companies. There's something that's lacking here is this collaboration among entrepreneurs within the ecosystem. To speed up integration, we need two things: English, and B, foreign direct investment. So who's following Fedory's vlog, he put up an ad learning English, for learning English, and he stood on the chair, no English, no money. That's how he advertised it. So it's actually, now kids will have a very good command of English, but that's what's currently lacking for tighter integration. I arrived in Estonia in 1993 when I was 17, and I turned the box on, and all shows were in English, with English subtitles. Now Netflix announced they would introduce Ukrainian. It didn't make me happy, because this is another opportunity being lost to learn the language by watching movies and shows in their original language. Now, as regards foreign direct investment, what's Thomas Fiala said, that it's only a fifth of what Poland has. My wife is from Donetsk. If we had more FDIs from the Nordic countries, from France, in the Donbass, in Crimea, if we had given up the pipeline to a consortium of foreign partners, we could have avoided all these perils, and the war and integration would continue much faster if we started seeing more foreign investment from the West. We need the rule of law, the rule of law, and the rule of law. Three things that are necessary. Thank you, Ivaris, for a very practical response. Guys, just do it. Now, let's begin at the macro level and then go down to macroeconomic level from the perspective of your business. Now, if you look at the global competitiveness index, the top positions are held by countries with a highly innovative economy. What is the vector for the development sector that Ukraine should adopt for Ukraine to increase its place in the global competitiveness index? And what are you doing at your level, at the level of your company at Khan Development? Rule of law matters, it is really important, but taxation is even more important because we need to learn to compete with our neighbors, with the countries around us, and I think that it is not sufficiently well understood by decision makers. Now, the development sector, a good developer is a creative one, and they create products that use a lot of innovations. And our company used a lot of innovations, and we have enabled our domestic producers to embrace those innovations, to improve those innovations, and we're helping with orders, with advice, and a lot of companies around us, those that they've actually developed into mature enterprises, and now many of them are exporting their products. So the level of development within our profession should be increased, and then your technological satellites, your vendors, will be developing too, and their development will enable us to compete internationally and sell to foreign markets. Yes, if I may, innovative economies have a large share of services as part of the economic profile. Now, to the best of my knowledge, Khan Development is a leader in innovations in the market in terms of promoting satellite companies and service companies, and all related services is something that you are also investing in. Yes, indeed. Speak how to really entice an investor. We shouldn't be selling square meters. We should sell an ambience. We shouldn't sell a house today. We are selling its use over the years. Okay, if you're building a house whose useful life is 50 years, residential space, then you need to sell 50 years worth of services. Now, it's everything. It's all in a smartphone. So everything is managed from your smartphone, and without that understanding, you have no future. Yes, we are selling services, and this is our next goal. Then our development. This is a trend. Now it's going to appeal to foreign investors, and they're coming from Asia, from the Arab world, from Israel, from the US, buying residential space here, both and commercial space too. Now, now we are discussing the economy. We have a representative of the world of culture. A very simple and complex question to you, Alexey. You named dozens of countries where you performed at the highest level. You met with politicians. How is the world culture affecting the economy? Well, I think that from what I've seen, I've been traveling, touring the world for the past 25 years. This is an increasing impact. If we consider festivals, like a music festival, a classical music festival, over the past couple of decades, their weight in society has grown very dramatically. It's not only large cities, but smaller communities, sometimes villages, because they've invested in a festival, they've dramatically improved their visibility and profile, and their economies now. If this village, Verbier in Switzerland, who knew of Verbier 20 years ago? Okay, then you probably did. But now it's a brand, it's a global brand. for music lovers. It's a festival, one of the top 5 or top 10 festivals. And I know that English tourists indeed have taken a liking to it. It's, if you want to rent a flat or a chalet, it's next to impossible because it's so popular. One of the tools that's made it happen is the festival. Well, it's been very heavily invested in but it is not certainly returned its investment. But there are other things that are being invested in. Or Salzburg, for instance. It's this word is now symbolic of the best festival in the world, and the infrastructure of Salzburg itself and the region around it. It's all, you can't miss it because it's all the roads lead to that festival, and it's only 50 years old, and it's that it is. They're not philanthropists in the local municipality. They did this with a very immediate and direct economic benefit in mind, and it's grown over the years. From what I've seen over the past 10-15 years, lots of new festivals have popped up. A lot of investment has been committed to those festivals, and it's had a very positive and immediate impact. So I'm only talking about this particular sector, classical music festivals, but there are festivals of arts. What chance does Ukraine have of creating a festival that will act as a magnet for other countries? I think we have one already, and there are several places in Ukraine holding great festivals in Odessa and Lviv. If you could comment on the one that you've created, Odessa Classic. Yes, I'm certainly easier for me to discuss my festival. It's when I founded it. I decided to found it in 2014 after the tragedy in Ilovaisk, and it was all hanging in the air, but then it was next to impossible to do it. But it proved to be, it took off actually positively. Local businesses supported it, and most of it's actually reliant on philanthropy, on Odessa philanthropists. And 2015 was a year Ukraine did not exist on the world map of festivals. They did not exist, and nobody knew. Now, Odessa Classics is a festival that now, since our year 4, we have been listed in musical directories, and we're hosting top artists, world elite artists, and everyone wants to come back. Let's do it again next year. Now we have the luxury of picking the best. And it's not just to promote the brand of Odessa, it's promoting the brand of Ukraine. Because those lines that are being built and bonds and projects that are being created, they have a great impact in terms of promoting Ukraine's image globally. And a couple of years' time, God willing, we'll start doing very cool things. Great. Thus, going back to the old planetary language of classical music that anyone can understand in any country, and it's something that opens the doors. This is another tool for diplomacy, is it not? Now, my question to Anton. If I can reproduce your mission, beautiful to move towards great, beautiful goals in the company of good people. Yeah, but have you ever had to try and compromise with yourself? Maybe you might not have picked the most beautiful goal or not the best of company. How have you resolved those contradictions? If you could just share a case. So it's like in this modern environment. So it's we created the company 4 years ago, and the first thing that I wrote, they gave me a whiteboard, and the first thing I wrote on it, we had not invented our name by the time. I thought, what you would do? We would create a service that people were willing to recommend to their friends. Now, it's still there on that whiteboard. steps, and then we had several more things that we added on to it. So in terms of who we were, that second was speed of service, and it was demonstrated. We had to uh, move very fast, and there was a third phrase. It was written like different. We care, just to paraphrase. And this is about people. It's about a team. And I can share two cases about this. Now, it's about speed. It's about the we care component. We had several situations when we had people working as team members of a team, and that's like teamwork is really very crucial. It's for teams to be excited, to be driven by common goal, to be part of it, to be. And if you see that somebody's falling out of this, we had a case. We spent quite a long time deciding. We had some 4 months that we essentially wasted, and we lost pace, and we thought whether to fire that person. It was an important lesson, but it's when you do something like this, it's hard to do in practice. You need to learn to say goodbye to people fast. Nick Welch is, we slowly hire, we quickly fire. Yeah, it's actually, yes, something. Sometimes there comes a time when you need to end your relationship. It was something related to speed. Like yesterday, we discussed during our evening program ways in which to tap foreign markets, how difficult it was, different mindsets, that sort of thing. And we were sort of circling around this, and we want to do it right. But then when you take the first step, then you take the second one, and then you keep moving, and then you stop thinking about any mindset consideration. You're just doing your job. And this, we were putting off action for a considerable amount of time, and going back to the whiteboard, that we have 3 simple things. Do it fast in the modern world. Do things that people recommend to their friends, and create a team that cares. That's how I would respond to this. Thank you. A fundamental question to the fundamental scientists. Science, business, and the state. This triangle. How to assign roles to these actors. It's not a fundamental question, it's more of a practical one. And it is very painful for Ukraine, because in a perfect world, the government it should support fundamental science. This is what shapes long-term competitiveness in the market of new technologies. It is science, it is a highly competent workforce, and new technologies, new inventions. The company that I named, Gleb Yushin's company, was founded based on an invention that he made at university, and they published in Science, and they created their company around it to create new materials, new types of batteries. Now, industry then begins to invest. Private capital, venture capital, they begin to invest in technologies that they need to stay competitive. If they want to create a new spacecraft, if they want to create a new material or a new medical drug. In Ukraine, unfortunately, this value chain has not been created. And I think that, as Ivar has put it, it's not wise to consider moving eastwards, but there is one thing worse than moving in the wrong direction, is moving in no direction at all. Ukrainian science was actually held fast by the tentacles of the Soviet monster, and but they've retained. So the Academy of Sciences, their offices were rented out to private entrepreneurs. So they allowed the demise of fundamental science in this country. It's with some exception. There are good scientists, solid that are still Hershey's index. It only shows that how widespread quotations from Ukrainian publications are in the world. If PhD students have a higher Hershey index than some scientists who lead academic institutions in Ukraine, something is wrong. Everything is wrong. We need a fundamental transformation here, because without advanced science, there is no future. My lab, about half of the work that we do is financed by companies, by businesses, not only US companies, Japanese corporations, the Murata Corporation, a Fortune 1000 company, Korean companies. They are looking for advanced ideas all over the globe. And back to knowing English and the importance of investment. Science is in the same condition. European science grants are open to Ukrainian scientists. People with inventions, with ideas, are free to apply to raise investment. And they've got to know how to explain their ideas in the language that is understood by the other side. And this is a crucial change. And certain steps are being taken. A research fund has been created, and in particular to evaluate papers by independent foreign experts. I actually signed up as an assessor, you know how many proposals I've received to evaluate? 0. What this shows is how bad things are. We need smart managers, we need people who know how the world of science operates, how to gain, maybe not in 10 years' time, to cash in on this dividend from the country's growth, and not to see the country erode into some sort of a subservient status to other countries. And many decisions are not well thought through. Maybe it's one year ago at Scopus, the open source database. It was included because they named themselves as Russian-based. The Scopus subscription was terminated. Who is going to suffer? Not the owner of this publication, but Ukraine is going to suffer, because it limits access to information for Ukrainian scientists. At the top of government, science should be managed by people who know how science works. And you don't have to be a scientist yourself. You need people who have learned to listen, who know how to build a strong team, people who understand what they're doing, people who are really committed to this country, who wish to help this country rise to the next level. And Ukraine has a colossal academic potential. During the panel on education, the stat was shared that Ukraine has more bachelors than other countries. Ukraine, in my domain, Ukraine was the leading republic of the Soviet Union, but this potential should be harnessed while it's still there. And it's so much more difficult to catch up. So it's actually not only also practical challenges, not only fundamental ones. Now, we moving on to the next question that I would like to pose to Ivaris. We had a great discussion in this hall about the role of the government in economic growth and development. My question to Ivaris is as follows. Before the pandemic, the US publication New York Times issued the headline, "Karl Marx, you were right." It was a highly provocative headline, and the article argued that capitalism must humanize or else. No other option. Ivaris, could you comment on this? Or are you aware of this publication by the New York Times? And what is going to become of capitalism? Thank you. I didn't see that headline, but there were several other statements made by leading by the CEOs of leading U.S. corporations that that earnings were no longer considered to be the most important goal, but there are other stakeholders whose interests should be taken into account. So the world is moved on, and the Western civilization, as we know it, including Ukraine, has never lived such a comfortable life, and people focusing increasingly on quality of life, and we are moving towards capitalism using a different path. It's more of a capitalism with a human face, or humanized capitalism. Sooner or later, we will get to that point to achieve the universal basic income. We are talking about a 4-day work week, a 6-hour work day, and more. Poland and other countries issuing more in maternity and paternity benefits, if you will. Everyone is talking about ESG, about your carbon footprint and other environmental impact. Now, the focus of retention is shifting to staff. There is a dearth of staff. Now, the UK is grappling with a bad shortage of truck drivers. So so there's the employers' market, and they will have to work harder to retain their personnel, and there will be this big fight for people, for employees, and they will want what we'll have to give them: a better quality of life. The next question is to the two businessmen, and it logically follows on from the previous discussion. You had a comment? No, I have a question indeed to either of us, if I may. We've been talking about Europe, but Asia holds a lot of potential. They have their own problems with very large populations in China and India, that it will be difficult to meet the same standard of living as in Sweden. If it may come, but nobody knows when, probably not at all. How to balance this between culture and the approach of Asian development and Europe, which is not that it's resting on its laurels, but it's still collecting dividends from its past several decades of rapid development. What path should Ukraine choose to strike the right balance between Asia and Europe? Well, Asia is a different mentality. It's a different approach to employment. They are not likely to change anytime soon, but Ukraine is not Switzerland or Finland. So productivity is not as high. Well, in Sweden, all analysis shows that when somebody works for 6 hours per day, they are more productive than working an 8-hour workday. It's just analysis, and the Lithuanians, coming back to Lithuania, we've always had the -1% since the country regained independence. Now there is the reverse flow, and because the quality of life and the work-life balance is better in Lithuania compared to the UK, for instance, for various reasons. So Ukraine needs to increase its wealth to afford to switch to that more relaxed work-life balance. Now, in one of the basic precepts in books on economics, finance, that the purpose of any business is to make a profit and to create shareholder value. Could you comment on this as being the primary objective of any business? Well, to a certain extent, in large part, it still holds true. But when the company has broken even and has become successful, I think that some other values take precedence. In our case, we had this phase when we actually had to grind it out, to struggle to make money. But then we started creating our network of schools, of private schools. Ours is the biggest network. Now, we need to promote our own profession. Now we are launching a college of architecture, which is quite unprecedented. I think that from a certain point, business, okay, your schools, are they profitable? Well, not, well, I have an alternative that would be more profitable, but it's not. Is this an impact investment? Is it a long-term? Yeah, it's investment in people. Yes, because when we launch a school, we do not enroll 10 classes, 3 classes. Then we add a class on every year, because it's impossible to create the atmosphere that you want to create up front. You cannot impose your own rules of the game on school children. So, unfortunately, this is not a business enterprise, but I think that it is going to help so many people. It will help us too. Anton, what do you think? I would like to subscribe to Igor's words in terms of the foundations. It's part of the DNA of a business that it must make a profit. But I would also add 2 factors here. One is that if you only think about profits, it limits you in a way. And secondly, well, we spoke about building teams. A business who does cool things in the social sphere, its own team treats it very differently, and this importance of feeling part of something big, something huge. How we when we started our business, when the pandemic started in 2020, we launched a joint project with Ukrainian Mail. We were delivering medications to people for free. There was a transport collapse. We had over 10,000 villages that had no chemists, and they had no way of obtaining the drugs. It was a loss-making exercise, but the whole team, and we continued doing it. It's under slightly different conditions, but this feeling of this importance of affiliation, it is indeed such a source of inspiration. It is the feeling of being part of something this huge. So I think that businesses should work to make money, yes, but it's also important to think about its social impact and its footprint in society that will sustain long-term stability of the business with the right team. Our discussion panel is drawing to a close, and I would like to say that managerial information landscape and economic landscape is evolving, but wherever we go, it's important to look inward for any leader. When you look inward, you can travel the whole world. One secret weapon is know thyself, know your own strengths, believe in yourself, and use it. I could let somebody from the audience to ask a good question from the audience, because we have the smart board that through which to receive any questions, but it's not been used at all. Any questions from the audience? Okay, then my dear audience, let me thank you for attending this panel discussion, and we have at least 5 secret weapons now. In our armory, we learned 5 missions from leaders from various walks of life. And we'll see you next time, in a year's time.